Hey, Jason, how are you doing?
Fantastic, man. I was just telling everyone as they were jumping on, if they've been a part of the other two attempts, bear with us. We'll figure this out.
Awesome. I think we got it.
Good deal, man. Well, again, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about 10X Columbus, just 10X in general, and kind of get a fresh perspective. I know you and I kind of began this 10X adventure kind of at the same time. When was that? Do you remember, what that kind of a starting point was for us both?
Yeah, I mean, that was back like November, December 2016. So it was almost 3 years ago now.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there was a special on Cardone U, if my memory serves me right.
Yeah, and I remember that it was like 497 or 997, within what I could spend at that time, and that was a game
Yeah.
changer for me, being able to jump on that. And I see that with your event, by the way, is the ability to get access to grant, access to the event, access to the community, without maybe having to pay a five or a $10,000 price point on a
That's right.
ticket. I think that's just a giant value for me. That really is what kind of put lighter fluid on my business,
Yeah.
and we just took off from there.
Yeah, that has been the catalyst for us as well. Being able to all learn from Grant on Cardone University, kind of just practicing, from the same teacher, just like, the greatest sports teams in any sport, they all had a great head coach. And that's kind of what we locked arms with Grant. And it's just been that catalyst to drive us to a great inflection point.
Yeah, and I like so I've been to GrowthCon and the actual boot camps down in Miami, and I know you have too. And what I like about what you guys are doing is it's first of all it's a 1 day event.
That's right.
So for somebody that's maybe just getting into the 10x lifestyle, into the content, we took a bunch of brand new guys down to the one last October, and by day three, like they'd learned enough on day one that they're like, we didn't need a day two and a day three, like we were just ready to go. And
That's
so I
right.
see that with yours, and I also see, it's a more intimate environment. So it's not a 10,000 or a 30,000 people event. It's something where you've got enough, serious people to really network, meet, connect, and implement.
That's right. Joel Boer, thanks for hopping on. Joel's actually coming and sitting VIP along with his wife. So we're excited to have them along. But yeah, to your point, this is a very intimate environment, 1,200 seats or 1,256 to be exact. And this is a representation of Grant's boot camp. So it's a 1 day. This isn't a pitch from stage or even a motivation from stage like GrowthCon. Again, nothing wrong with that. But this is a totally different event where you're learning blocking and tackling and how to go to market with proven strategies. You'll get a workbook like this, which I know you've gotten going to his boot camps as well in the past. So it's just a fortune, for us to be able to, or a fortunate event for us to bring Grant to Columbus in this 1 day setting. He's never done it before. So we were just very thrilled and excited that he agreed to kind of break down his boot camp into this 1 day structure.
Yeah, and you were sharing with me earlier what I love is you guys really considered the entire audience of who could be attending something like this. So you'd mentioned that you're doing a deal with kind of for people that are maybe in a student position or maybe they're just starting up. It was like a $97 ticket.
Yeah, that's right. So we worked out a deal with some folks where we were able to take a block of tickets and really create something that's for students. So this came from a conversation with the Ohio State University and the Fisher Business School here. Their Business Builders Club actually teaches Grant Cardone in the club, teaches the 10X rule, and they're students of his from his content. But as a college student, a $395, $495, $1,000 ticket just is not feasible in the budget. So we worked out something to where, $97 gets you a ticket, the Super Saver general admission. But not only did we unlock it for the students, we actually unlocked it for anyone that may need just little bit of bump, but then still get access to this fantastic event.
Yeah, so they don't have to be a student.
That's right. They don't have to be a student. It's first come, first serve. It was derived out of the talk about students, but it is now open for anyone. There's no code. Just go to the website and it's $97. Ken Walls, thanks for hopping on. Third time's a charm. Jerry and I figured it out.
Thank you, Ken, for your help.
So yeah, that ticket's available for anyone. And we've actually had some teams that said, look, we couldn't do a team at $397 or $897, but we could do a team of 3 or 4 for $97. So actually, I just saw some tickets pop in. Someone bought 4 of them from a local restaurateur group. So we kind of have pockets and flavors and packages for really any business, but every business is going to be able to take advantage of what they'll be able to learn and go back and implement it into the business.
That's awesome. And you were sharing a little bit about this with me a few minutes back, but what made you guys want to do a 10X event? You guys are not an event company.
No.
You're not in the motivational business. You're a digital signage company. I know you guys do video. Like, what made you want to get into this?
So been students of Grant's for going on 3.5, 4 years now. And, this started last year in Bootcamp in Miami. We said, it'd be really interesting to be able to break this down into an affordable environment for the business at scale. The solopreneur, the entrepreneur, the intrapreneur who may not have buy-in from their corporate, but they still want to make a difference. And then really this came to head at GrowthCon back in Miami of this year in February. And we talked to Mike Bonnet and we said, we want to bring Grant to Columbus. And first they thought we were kidding because we're not event planners. We're not in the event market space, but we just wanted to give back to the community, be able to bring Grant to a population where it's addressable and reachable, to a 6-hour drive to 64% of the US population, and make it affordable in this one-day format. So it's really about giving back because we know what Grant and his content and his teachings has done for our business. We want to push it out into the marketplace and just better the community.
That's great. And I think, with the timing of the year too, like it's right at that fourth quarter push.
Yeah.
And I know for me, like when I got on that holiday special deal, like that was the fourth quarter push. Like I was looking at, how do I hit my end of year goals? How do I make sure I'm on track? And I think this is just enough of that nitrous, to push someone and give them a great finish off to the year too.
That's exactly right. And that's kind of why we picked this. Well, one, we had to, link it up with Grant's busy world tour schedule right now. But two,
super busy.
Oh my goodness, he's everywhere. But we had to link it up with his schedule, and then we wanted to be cognizant of not only are we coming into Q4, but we're also setting ourselves up for the next true decade. And we want to make that impact. We want to give someone that catalyst that they're going to be able to take and implement into their business and really change their game and change their life. And not in a motivational style format, but truly be able to have the tools to change your life.
Yeah, and I really have appreciated that about the boot camps, because I when I got onto Cardone, it was so tactical and strategic. The first GrowthCon, it was a great event, and then I went to the boot camp the following year, and it was like all of this stuff that I kind of wondered, like behind the scenes, how does it actually work? Yeah. And I relate it to like watching a football game versus actually practicing with the team.
That's a very great analogy. I like that.
So you see a lot more like behind the scenes. When we went to our first boot camp here, I can tell you our whole business changed from, and not just from a results standpoint. Obviously that was a byproduct, but it was the processes, the systems, how we ran our day, how we did our scripting, how we did our calls. Like we have automatically knew like this is how Grant does it. Let's just copy Grant. Everything that he said to do, we started implementing it. So to be able to go to a one-day boot camp like that and get that data like that, that's something I wish that would have been available for us, early on back when we first started on the 10X journey.
That's right. And you've been able to experience the exact same thing. Hey, Ken, thanks for tagging everyone. Grant, Mike Bonnet, Frank Crinity. Looks like Frank has just jumped on. And Ken wants to know, Jerry, have you even heard of Grant Cardone? He says that with a ton of crying, laughing faces.
That's like the do you even work out?
Right. Yes. But to your point, when you're talking about the whole team, and it wasn't just about what you were learning, but just really copying everything that Grant has done and implement that to the business. We've done the exact same thing of even how to hire, how to fire, unfortunately, because we all know that is the byproduct of just doing business and hiring employees. So we've really been able to adopt everything that Grant has done. And it's truly been that game changer for us from not only from sales, but just operationally as well.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, putting the event together, what's the main result like that you have as an intention for your audience and the people that come to this event? What's the main result or the main thing you would like them to walk away from from the event with, if you could only pick one?
Oh my gosh. Thank God
Because
this
there's
is
going to be
only
like
a 1 day.
dozens, but what's your main? Yeah.
Well, I think actually Grant made a piece of content about this. Might have been today, or someone shared it out today. But for everyone to recognize that the number one, silent killer, or even just audible killer in business is obscurity. It's not the best known product, or it's the best known product that wins. It's not the best product. So get yourself out there so people know you, so they can be able to transact and do business with you. Because we were in the same results. We didn't produce content every day, and this was just a year ago. We weren't getting out of obscurity, so we were losing deals in our own backyard. And I want every business and every attendee to take that away from this event and learn how to get yourself out of obscurity, and then stay on the forefront of the minds of your customer.
That's huge. That's huge. And we saw that in our business so my company, we're mostly in financial services. A lot of that's the old school, like 1990s, go to BNI groups, like networking, referrals, which works, but nobody uses social media. And in that space, it's very unheard of. So, when we saw, all of the tactics Grant's team taught us with that, like that was just incredible for our business too.
Yeah.
And the benefit is anyone can do that. It's free. Like from the top of the top to the guy that's just starting out, like that's a strategy they could pick up at that event and start doing that day.
That's right. And you don't have to, be a graphic artist to produce content into the marketplace. Use Canva, use free tools, just make the content. Don't worry about if it's great, just make sure it's a viable product and push it out there. Yeah.
So let me ask you, are you guys thinking about a number 2?
It's already been on our minds because we've learned so much these last 7 months that, I think we would do ourselves a disservice if we didn't at least try to do a number 2.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So when is the event? It's September. What's the date?
Let's see, September 20th.
20th. I see it behind you.
Yes, September 20th, right here in Columbus, Ohio, at the convention center. So just a 1-day event. People are coming in that Thursday night, though. They're going to stay at the hotel that's connected via Skybridge. And, I'm sure some folks will do some networking on their own the night before, but just a 1-day event from 9 until about 6. And then every attendee gets invited to network and stay after and either have a drink or just, meet people and get some business done and some networking.
And it's not just Grant that's going to be speaking. You guys have a couple people, right?
We do. So, we have one other person. Jeff Sorrow is going to be there as a licensee of Grant. But he was the one that was actually the bridge to get us to be able to have that 10X branding. But Roddy Chong is also going to be here as our special guest. He'll be performing / speaking. Oh, dude. He had 9,000 people doing jumping jacks at GrowthCon too. I've never seen anything like it.
I have to admit, because I'm not like a very artistic person. So like, if there's a movie and they start singing, like automatically I want to shut the movie off. Right. So like GrowthCon 2, and I see Roddy come up with a violin, and I was like, we're gonna have like violin music, like what is it? And then he just blew my mind. Like I was expecting it to be something entirely different. And I have to say that like that performance and the story behind it and the way that he's implemented 10X in his business, because I've heard him call in on the Wednesday calls. If you listen back on some of the ones on Card on you'll hear Roddy call in and asking Steve Spray how to close deals. So that just totally threw me for one, because I didn't expect that whatsoever. So that's a treat, like for real, that you guys have him there.
Yeah, and he truly is still a student of Grant's. Last month in Miami, he was at the Bootcamp.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Hey, Tim, thanks for hopping on. That's my dad and also co-producer of 10X Columbus, just a couple offices over. Grace Garrison, thanks for hopping on. But what? Let me ask you this, Jerry. What's the one thing, from events or just from your tenure, following the kind of the 10X movement, what has been your number one takeaway?
There's so many of them. If I had to narrow it down to just one, and it's the reason why. So my company is Wealth Dynamics. That's where we got the X from. It's the idea of potential, and I think a lot of the goals people have are goals that are assigned to them by others. And a lot of times, even if you get beyond that, where you're no longer having goals in life assigned to you, you're really just mimicking stuff that other people said that sounded good.
Sure.
And so my belief is a lot of people don't truly know what their actual real life, personal goals are that they've actually thought through for themselves and chosen for themselves. So Grant helped me do that. Like when we started the business out, it really was, mimicking what the industry does and going after quotas and different things like that. So the X, when you think about it in mathematics, X is an exponent. It's a multiplier. So if you see a 10 with an X above it, that doesn't mean, 10 times 1. It's 10 to whatever power you select in that calculation. So that's really the potential. I think when people unlock their potential, they unlock that multiplying factor. Now, the other thing, too, is when you look at the word X, you actually see that it's the mathematical indicator. And also you look at the potential aspects. Potential, when you go to the root of that word, that means potent, which means power. So like for me, my takeaway and what I would wish everyone else got from this event too is unlocking their own power. Like so many of the answers, like I actually kind of already knew, and Grant helped me unblock the garbage that I was listening to be like, yeah, that makes sense. That's why this works. I knew I was right all along, and I can trust my gut. And I think that's more valuable than anything out there.
Dude, that is awesome. I didn't know that was the reasoning for your company name. So yeah, thank you for sharing. I couldn't agree more. It's sometimes you already know what you need to do, but you just like you said, to your point, what you said, you need that help kind of blocking through and getting through the junk. And Grant kind of helps you do that, and that's why we've aligned with him as well as our head coach of our organization, and put us through to levels we wouldn't have been at, I don't think, without him and without marching through with the same head coach. There's other great people out there. So I'm not going to knock anyone else out there. You just have to align with the coach and all be on the same page as a team.
Mm-hmm. And what I can say too, and you may have experienced this, is the way it's the right coach is initially you probably didn't like most of what they said because it was all the stuff you weren't doing. Like I can't tell you how many times, like when I first was listening to Grant, first hearing Sell or Be Sold, where I was like, I don't like this. It's too pushy. It's arrogant. It's this. It's that. And by the way, I was making no money at the time, and my business wasn't growing either. And it wasn't until I was in a situation where I was like, this is the last resort. Let me break the glass per se and go ahead and jump on it and see what happens. And everything took off from there. So, and I say that because I don't want that to be a deterrent. If anyone's watching this and they're like, hey, I've been thinking about it. I don't know if that's my style. I don't know if I want to go to an event like that. Like, you owe it to yourself, because if you're not where you're at, where you want to be at right now, then that does mean what you currently do doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you got to just start. It's like that little game you played when you were a kid with the shapes and the blocks. You just got to start sticking blocks in there and figure out which one finally goes through. If it goes through, it goes through. It doesn't matter what you thought of it or what your opinion was. Apparently, that's the right one.
Dude, that is such a great analogy. And we had a similar, starting point. I found Grant on YouTube, and I forwarded over a link to my dad, and I'm like, man, this guy is out there, but the content was resonating. But I'm like, I just don't know if I like the delivery. I like the style. But then we bought that Christmas special where you and I both bought it. And then we even put our toe in the water to live stream the first GrowthCon because I just wasn't sure he was the right one for me. But then once I fully committed, it's just been a game changer. So, I couldn't agree more. Very similar story.
Yeah. So where can people connect with you? Where can people get tickets?
Man. Yeah, so tickets, 10xcolumbus.com. We've got a Facebook group, a Facebook event page, just 10x Columbus, one-day business boot camp. And then if you do get a ticket, we've got a private Facebook group for you, so you can start networking and talking with other attendees. And then that way you can trade ideas and even link after this event. It's a private group. It's just the attendees only, but 10xcolumbus.com. And for the 10X family, because that's what we all are, in my opinion, whether you're with Grant or you're not, if you use code 10X family, you'll get a special discount as well. I won't tell you what it is because you have to go there to find out. But it's going to be a great event. And again, I know that we talked about the $97 seat, but our most expensive seat is just, and I hate using just and only in front of money, but in comparison to what you would pay with Grant's Bootcamp, and again, that's a phenomenal investment as well, but that minimum ticket's $2,500. Our maximum is $897.
What?
$897, and that's for 6 rows.
And that's front row?
For 6 rows.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So,
and dead center.
Were you at the boot camp? I think it was July of 2017, where a group of people had bought front row. They didn't show up, and Grant gave their seats away.
No, I was not.
That happened, but this reminds me of that. Like, it's just too good to be true. Like, imagine sitting in the back row, and Grant's like, "Hey, this dingus didn't show up. You can have a spot." Like, you just be like,
"Dude, that's phenomenal."
That's a phenomenal offer.
And again, it goes down to, this wasn't about becoming a profit event for us. It was about making an impact into our community, into the Midwest, and really anyone that wants to come here. We want to just change lives with this event, and we wanted to make it affordable. So $897 is the top tier ticket. Lunch with Grant, and there's only 120 of those. So once the VIPs, I think there's 43 or 44, something like that left. Once they're gone, they're gone. And then you get a Q&A session with them as well in the private lunch setting, and a meet and greet opportunity. So I can tell you from experience, I've paid front row for a boot camp. That doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of what I had to pull out of the bank account.
Right. That's such a big deal. So I want to, real quick before we sign out, I want to just kind of give advice on what I would do if I was watching this and I grabbed a ticket and went to the event. So this is my strategy at the boot camps and any event I go to. So number one, get the best ticket you can get, even if you got to borrow money, because it's an investment in yourself and it's going to produce income. And I've found for me personally that if I don't put myself in a dangerous situation, my commitment level lowers. So if I had to put $897 on a credit card and I'm just starting out, I would have done it, because now I know I'm committed. I've got to go produce to go pay off the credit card. And that's my mindset. Now, front row is important because that's where the players are. You want to sit there. That's where you find the networking. And what I do is I actually don't ever bring business cards. And the reason why is when I go to an event and I have my business card, I'm going to hand it to Jason. Jason's going to put it in his pocket, and he's going to wash his pants, and it's going to go through the dryer, and I'm never going to hear from Jason again. So I never bring my business card. That way when somebody asks me, so ask me if I have my business card, Jason.
Do you have your business card?
No, I don't. But I have my phone here. Let me grab your phone number.
Dude, love that.
So I can get leads from that. So that's my strategy, and I want to encourage you guys to do that too.
I think that's a fantastic strategy. And yeah, I think that, that is even, an extra bonus that is worth twice the amount of the ticket, is being able to network with, proximity and being in proximity of power. Make sure you do it with those key nuggets. So I really appreciate you sharing how you do those events, because I think that is, even extra value to get business and immediately get ROI before you even start implementing what Grant's going to teach you in these books.
Yeah, so they're ready. They got no excuse not to do it.
That's right. Well, what's one last thing, Jerry, because I really appreciate your time, and I know that your day is still rocking, but what is one last thing you would tell someone if they're on the fence about 10X Columbus?
If you're on the fence about going, I want you to look at when was the last time you did something like this. And if the answer is never, then this needs to be the first time. And if you did do something like this before, where you went to the event, you went to the training, it didn't work the way you wanted to, I want you to realize this is not the same thing. This is entirely different. Like, you're on Facebook Live with the guy hosting the event right now. There's community there, and there's ways for you to help implement the solutions you're going to learn there. So make a bet on yourself. Again, it goes back to the potent thing, the power, the potential. Bet on that and just make it happen.
Dude, that is awesome. Well, I greatly appreciate you sharing your time and your insight on events and just on, the 10X movement and what you've learned from Grant. It's been great to watch your journey since we kind of started along this path at the same time. Glad to call you a friend. And if I can help you out any way, let me know, but definitely appreciate it.